disclosure of death news. It's an honor for me to address this question to Dr. Pratibha. Ma'am, welcome to this panel. I would really like you to share your experience, especially considering the escalating violence on healthcare professionals. How can we prepare our healthcare workers to disclose news of death, especially when it is unanticipated during sudden death? And any suggestion or any protocol on who among the healthcare team is responsible for this disclosure? Over to you, Dr. Pratibha.
I would like to thank Aho for giving me this opportunity, and I'm very honored to be on this panel of speakers. As you said, breaking bad news or death. I've been listening to all the lectures, wonderful lectures. At some point of time, I feel communication is, it's kind of an inherent positive nature of, which few people do possess, how you communicate with another person. But not that it cannot be learned or it cannot be developed. So we know that most often facing the brunt when a patient dies will be either the postgraduate or the resident doctors or the nurses. The consultant who are directly in charge or the surgeon who does the surgery will not be there. Even in the emergency, we see it's the postgraduate. So I feel, empowering and training our postgraduates in breaking this, this bad news, especially death. And you have asked me, there are two situations where where death happens, where we anticipate. Okay, it's not difficult at all because the consultant or the senior person would speak to them. He will give reasons. Today, everywhere counseling has become very strong. People are aware of it. So there is a system in place across the hospitals. But where it is unanticipated, that is very difficult situation. But I think we have to first not only look at the patient, how you're going to break the bad news, especially of death, but also you have to train them how they're going to protect themselves. So I guess training them is very, very important, and it has to be done by role play. I think most of us do when death happens and we are breaking a bad news. Many of us, counsel with audiovisual counseling. So I guess we can replay that audiovisual counseling and exactly tell them how it was done, how it needs to be done, and how one needs to improve. I think we can play this audiovisual to them and then ask them to comment on it in the real-time situations. That is very, very important. It's like a role play. And then we can give them scenarios and say, now this happens, how are you going to communicate to the person? And this should not be done as a training. Offhandedly, when the join, we should present them a case and they say, come on now, you talk. And I think role play method of training is what is very, very important. And then when we are doing this role play methodology, we have to teach them that there is something beyond talking. It's the body language. How do you read the body language of the attenders when they bring the patient to you? That's very, very important to study the body language of the patient and also study the background in which the patients are coming from. What is the background? It could be rural, completely illiterate, it could be illiterate. So you need to really understand the background of the patient's background. And next, I think postgraduates should always be told that, look, a drug or a situation can always go out of hand. So we cannot be complacent, overconfident that nothing will happen to the patient. We always deal in an emergency or in an ICU that something could always go wrong. So we are always there, even let it be a new case. Study the new case in detail, give it time, pick up situation where things can go wrong, and mentally prepare the attender as to how you're going to deal with it, with this situation. Next, we have to train them how to protect themselves in terms of how do they take the help of the security, where do they stand, in what room do they break the bad news in an unanticipated condition, how do they call the resident medical officers, or how do they call the social work. Maybe we can train them that, okay, when there is a death, call the social work, because the social work people do know how to communicate much better than, because we are already stressed trying to figure out how the patient died. So maybe train them to make use of a social worker. He comes in, he talks to the patient first, prepares an environment, take them off into quiet situation, prepares a ground for medical communication. Then the doctor can, junior can come and communicate. And also one more thing is, when he's communicating, always put the head of the unit or the unit head on the video call, because he may not be there. So maybe put the person on the video call, have the key people in the institution around you when you are breaking bad news, especially unanticipated death. That's very, very important. And that preparation is very critical and crucial when we are training our juniors and junior doctors, postgraduates, resident doctors, and also nurses. Mainly the brunt is taken by the duty doctors and the junior residents when the unanticipated death happens in two areas. One is emergency and the another one is, but sometimes it can happen even in the ward. So I think ward, we have to train them for this, critical sign picking up. How do you identify in the evening rounds? What are the points that unanticipated may happen? So that is important in the wards. So I think we need to train them in the wards where you take things cool, emergency, where it's always a high tension area, ICU, where anything can go wrong at any time, mainly by role play and body language, case scenario, real case scenarios, video playing, and then asking them to correct the situation. I think overall, all this needs to be done. And I think this is important as we are teaching them other methods of training. This needs to come in a big way, even in their examination. How do they communicate with the patient? What is the language they use? Eye contact, the empathy feeling. How do you hold a patient, and then go to the weak point. Everybody has a weak point. How to pick the weak point, catch on the weak point and comfort them. Most often patient will be worried they brought the patient late. So, hold the patient. So I think overall, this is the way we can approach.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And you've also summarized, made my job easy. But 2 points I really liked what you mentioned was scenario training, ma'am, and being a very strong advocate of simulation-based training and integrating it into the curriculum, especially when we give scenarios, like you mentioned, give them background of various scenarios happening in the ward, happening in the ICU, a rural patient, language barriers to effective counseling and communication. So thank you for highlighting that. And the also one point where we can, review the videos and the counseling videos and give a peer feedback, and also a mentor giving feedback to the resident. So these 2 points are very crucial to enhance effective communication. Thank you so much, Pratibha.